What is up, everybody? Today we're going to do an honest review on, that's right, Hersheypark's Dark Nights. Let's get into this. Now, the first thing people should know is that Dark Nights includes, with your admission, 3 scare zones, but it is an upcharge if you want to go into the 4 haunted houses. Now, for me, I'm a season pass holder, and me and my family went to Hersheypark over 50 times this year. So being a pass holder helped out a lot there. I didn't have to complain about the upcharge because when I took into consideration how many times I visited and did the math with how much it would have cost me at regular ticket price, the park basically paid me to go to the park all them times. So if you plan on visiting the park more than 2 or 3 times in the whole year, get yourself a season pass. And you'll save yourself a ton of money, and you won't have to worry about complaining about a little upcharge for the first ever haunted house event. Now, when you get in the park, after you purchased the upcharge tickets for your Dark Nights event, you have to get yourself the HP Go wristband at one of the kiosks around the park, and that gets you admission into the haunted houses because they have little scanners at each haunted house. Now, when you first go into the park, you're going to have a few hours to play around before Dark Nights even begins. So let's just go straight to Sky Rush, Storm Runner, ride them roller coasters, get it out the way, have yourself a good old time. Now, we could honestly spend tons of time talking about all the amazing food that they have at Dark Nights. I mean, think about it. You have awesome shakes like this, specifically for Dark Nights. You could have cinnamon brain bread. There's all kind of amazing food. Just look at that. How good does that look? I could talk about that all day. Or all the amazing merch. I mean, they got skull-shaped candle melts. I mean, they even got Michael Myers coffin-shaped backpacks. They got all kind of awesome merch. Look at these sweatshirts. They're just everywhere. But one of the coolest things is that when it comes to merch, you could go into a gift shop and have freaking Halloween scene setups like this. Right alongside the merch that you're supposed to be buying in the gift shop. And that is awesome. It's like half haunted house, half gift shop. What gets better than that? But we're not here to talk about all that stuff. We're here to talk about the haunted houses and scare zones because I am a thrill seeker and that's what I love. All right, now the first one we'll talk about is the first scare zone you will encounter, and that is Darkstone's Hollow. Now, what I think of the scare zone is it pretty much didn't exist. It had a big old tall guy walking around on stilts, but there wasn't a lot of characters. And that was basically, that guy on the stilts was only right there at the beginning of the queue line for the creature chaos. So that scare zone pretty much don't exist. You can walk your kids right through there, no problem. They're not going to be scared of anything because there's not really anything there. Also, the best thing about the first scare zone, the Darkstone's Hollow, is there's so much fog that if you get a night ride on Great Bear, you're going to be looking like you're going through a dang cloud. And that is an awesome experience. So I definitely recommend you check that out. Now, scare zone number 2 that you will encounter is after you get out of the creature chaos. The exit basically walks right into the scare zone, which is the Valley of Fear. And in there, it is very dark and there is tons of fog, which I loved. And there was this little swamp creature-looking guy walking around trying to jump and get you. And I was seeing him scare a couple people. But overall, it really wasn't that scary. There wasn't much to it other than that character I seen and a ton of fog. And that just so happens to revolve right around the queue line entrance to the haunted coal mine. Now, the third scare zone we're going to talk about is the Midway of Misery. Now, in that scare zone, it tends to be more popular. There's tons of fog. It's dark. They got an awesome entranceway to that scare zone that busts flames way up in the air. I mean, just look at it. That is awesome. And there's much more scare actors in there, but I really didn't find the area scary unless somebody would pop out on their little knee pads and hand pads sliding across the blacktop. That scared me, making me think he hurt his hands, not realizing he probably had something there protecting him. But overall, it's not really that scary. And I wouldn't hesitate to take my kids in there at all. My youngest is 7. We went through there like it was nothing and rode Lightning Racer in the dark with all the fog. That's the better of the scare zones, though. I will say that. Now, as for the haunted houses, the least scary of the four has got to be Creature Chaos. But that doesn't say it isn't fun, because it's definitely fun. Now, the queue line was a little bit far away from the house, and you had to walk down a pretty long path, and I think they could have incorporated more stuff into the path leading up to the attraction. When you're walking down along Spring Creek, they could have put a little something here and there. But overall, it was a fun experience that would be great if you have younger children. The only way they're going to get scared in there is if a jump actor gets them. But overall, it's pretty neat to look at. And I love how they used the old amphitheater, brought it back to life by incorporating it into the haunted house. That is great. And they have a lot of cool looking sets in there. And the actors do pretty dang good in that area. I'll give them that. But that is definitely the least scariest. But it is definitely fun. Worth looking at everything and checking out. Now, next on my personal list would be my third favorite, which was the Haunted Coal Mine. I know a lot of people think that the Haunted Coal Mine was the best one there. And I could definitely see where they're coming from, because the Haunted Coal Mine definitely had a lot of good highlights in it. A lot of great props. They had some great actors in there. I mean, they had one room in there where it was fog and lasers, and it just looked like you were in a mine filled with foggy green water or something like that, and that looked great, and somebody pop up and get you. Another great highlight in that haunted house was towards the end there, they have simulated explosions going on down in there, and they made the explosions look real without actual explosives, and they did a great job on the overall set, and the actors in there did a great job as well. But it just wasn't that scary for me. I didn't hesitate. My 7-year-old went right through there like it was nothing. My 9-year-old went through there like it's nothing. They had fun. They ran way ahead of me. They were having a blast. Now, I will say one thing about the Haunted Coal Mine. When you first go into the elevator, and it make you think you're going down into the mines, one thing they could have did better with the elevator, the actor did awesome in the elevator. I give it to him. He was doing great. But the elevator would have been a lot more immersive if they would have put a ceiling in it, and they would have put like one of them vibrating floors that you can see at Spirit Halloween or something like that. If they would have had one of them vibrating floors and a ceiling on the elevator, it would have just leveled that thing way up. Now, next on my personal list would be The Descent. It was very, very dark in The Descent. In the first room, the actors did a phenomenal job in the first room. And the actors throughout did a pretty good job. But overall, that haunted house was very, very dark, with some spots in there having some really cool lighting that just set it off, and that made it really good for me. I love that haunted house, but it just wasn't the top level for me. I did like how they incorporated some things like to get your senses going on the floor. They made it look like some stuff's crawling around, and that messed with your equilibrium for a second the first time you went through it. And they also had a spot in the floor where it looked like it just dropped out from under you. But overall, it was very dark in there with some great lighting, some good actors, and it was pretty long. I really enjoyed The Descent. Now, for me, my favorite haunted house was Twisted Darkness. And that is because it had a mirror maze, duh. Not only did it have a mirror maze, but it had a clown behind the mirror in the one area of the mirror maze. It had a live actor behind another section of the mirror maze. And that was just an awesome feature. Not only did it have a mirror maze, but it had a section where you walked into a room and it looked like you were in the middle of a circus surrounded by, you know, audience members. And that was a really cool room. Then there was another section where you're walking down a long hallway and there was little circus-looking tents the whole way down that hallway. And in one of them tents, an actor with strings on him to make him look like a puppet, dressed up like a clown-looking thing, come popping out of one of them tents right at you. And that was a very fun haunted house. I wish it was longer, but with what they had in there, great lighting, great scenes, great actors all around. That was my favorite haunted house. Now, things that Hersheypark could have done better are the queue lines were all types of messed up. I had a fast track, and sometimes you had to wait in a line just to get up to where you scan for where they split the line for the fast track and the regular line. It was a little annoying. And hopefully they'll work them kinks out, which I'm sure they will, because they've never done something like this before. Scare zones were a bit underwhelming. So hopefully, they could throw some more actors in there because they're not on par with some other parks in the scare zone area. But overall, we had a great time. It was very fun. And the haunted houses were pretty dang cool. I definitely think you should check it out. I just wish the scare zones were a little bit more elevated with some more actors. Because, I mean, you go to like Hersheypark or something like that, their scare zones are filled with actors and all kinds of amazing props. Hersheypark also incorporates shows in their scare zones. They have one scare zone where they got the trampoline show they had last year, where they had people in costumes jumping and doing all these crazy flips. Also, parks like Hersheypark, as soon as you walk in the gate, bam, right there in your face, they got a huge stage, and they kick off every one of their haunt nights with an awesome show. Another benefit about a place like Hersheypark in comparison to Hersheypark is at Hersheypark, it's like $35 to get in the park, and it includes everything, and they have more haunted houses and better scare zones. I'm not saying they have better haunted houses, because the haunted houses at Hershey were pretty good. But places like Darney, you're going to get a lot more bang for the buck. So in comparison to places like Hersheypark, Hershey definitely needs to step their game up. I understand it's their first year, and Hersheypark been doing it a long time. But if they want to, compete with parks like that, they got to step up the game with the scare zones, for sure, and add more shows. That's the only thing that was bad about it. I mean, Treatville trick-or-treating was great. They give you great candy. I mean, Hershey makes the best candy in the world. So that's awesome. But they lacked in shows, and they lacked in actors within the scare zones. They did a great job with the fog, though. I'll give them that. They made that place look so foggy, it ain't even funny. And that made it have a little bit of a creepy atmosphere, but it wasn't really scary. Now, do I recommend you go check it out? Yes, for sure. Definitely go check it out once. I mean, Hersheypark's one of the best parks in the country. They have some amazing roller coasters, and they have some cool stuff for Halloween. So definitely go check it out.